So here's the thing that no one wants you to know. Excellent service can save a bad meal, but an excellent meal can be ruined by bad service. We think it's time that the front of the house got the spotlight they deserve. Welcome to Dine and Dish, where the business of dining meets the art of hospitality. Well, hello again. We are back another week with another episode of Dine and Dish. And the long awaited episode that everybody's been waiting for is today. I am actually going to have Gennaro DiMeo on as my guest. So it should be interesting. You're getting the husband wife duo on Thanksgiving. And we're going to talk today about Thanksgiving, the holidays, and what we're thankful for. Gennaro, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, hello there, husband.
How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for having me in. And finally, you having me on this podcast. I've been waiting.
It only took 13 episodes.
I know. Why it took you so long to have me on this?
I don't know. Should I be nervous? Do we have to censor you before we
No,
start?
not at all. I'll behave. I promise.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the holidays and planning the perfect menu. And I know everybody's excited to hear your favorite recipe and what you
Hmm.
take from the holidays. But at the end of the show, we're going to see what you're thankful for and what we're going to be doing for Thanksgiving. And we'll end the show with that instead of
Okay.
starting the show so we can jump right into it. Are you good with that?
Sounds good.
All right. So, as everybody always talks about, the holidays are the busiest, the most creative, and the most energetic time in hospitality. And owning restaurants, it's what inspires the whole year. Everybody looks forward to the end of the year, Q4, quarter four.
Hmm.
And being a restaurateur, and oh my God, Gennaro, how many years you been doing this?
Uh,
Too
Long.
long?
Yeah, I don't want to say too long, because when you say too long, it seems like that you don't like what you're doing. So it's been many years, but it really nice years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We don't want to give away your age, huh?
No, 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 definitely not.
So, doing this for quite some time and being a restaurateur and having so many different concepts from full
Mhm.
service to fast casual, there's so many amazing takeaways that we can discuss. But let's start with planning the perfect holiday menu because obviously everybody goes out for the holidays,
Mhm.
whether it's dining, catering. And let's talk about menus, the whole balance of tradition and innovation. I mean, you come from such strong Italian roots and be able to take the tradition and put it into cool, innovative ways to energize people to want to come out to the restaurants and spend the holidays with you. So,
Mhm.
what's your thoughts on planning that perfect menu?
Well, planning a menu, I mean, through the experience that you have, it's really, I want to say it's easy. You know what I mean? You just you got to be creative. You got to go with the best product. You just got to, do what you love to do. There is no magic stick. There is no, secrets. You just got to get the best product and, talk to your chef and make sure you can come up with the best recipes.
Yeah. Well, and it also goes back to also ingredients. You mentioned the best products, but the fresh ingredients. I mean, so many
Hmm.
restaurants today really focus on the dollar and they don't bring in those good quality ingredients. There's a lot of frozen ingredients and
Yeah.
one of the things that we've always stayed true to, and I'm sure you can talk about this, is spending that time and really finding the perfect recipes, the freshest ingredients, and bringing them in. I know for so many years at Carpaccio and other restaurants, you brought product in from Italy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, you always got to use the best product. Your olive oil, your Italian tomatoes. You know what I mean? That makes a big difference. Your buffalo mozzarella cheese. It's just some things that it makes big difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So besides just incorporating fresh ingredients and coming up with creative recipes, the holidays, it's so challenging with supply chain and getting product in and, different places being closed for the holidays and managing costs. I mean, how do you handle that in terms of planning a menu? Like looking at managing the costs, managing supply chain, being able to put together a good menu
Right,
that
right.
people are excited about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, of course, you have to prepare. I don't want to say few, maybe 2 to 3 weeks before. You got to know exactly what you want. You got to make sure that it's available. You got to make sure that it's there is in you can get enough of what you need, and just plan it. And then of course, you got to those days they're really really busy, so you got to make you got to find the way to make the dish beautiful with the presentation and taste and everything else. So it keeps a little, it takes a little bit of experience, and and just communicate with your chef and do your best.
Yeah. Well, you said it true. The secret to creating a menu is definitely, being optimistic about your recipes and making sure that they still look festive. And what about caring well? I mean, so many guests and family
Mhm.
members and friends have parties and they throw these big holiday parties, and not everybody wants to go to a restaurant or do a private room.
Exactly,
They want to do something
exactly.
at home.
Yeah.
So you also have to look at, okay, what's going to travel well, what makes sense from a takeout or catering perspective.
True. Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, we're in the business. I mean, we're in the Italian restaurant. So, Italian, it's one of the main three, 2 to 3 concept, food that it travels well, and and it tastes actually, it tastes even better sometimes, after
Yeah, the
after
next
a
day.
while. Yeah, exactly.
That's why people like,
So,
what do you call doggy bags, the leftovers for the next
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Except for you.
What's that?
I said, except for you don't eat leftovers.
Oh my God, are you kidding? I love Italian food, even the day after, even cold.
Only
Sometimes, okay, come on.
Italian food.
Sometimes you see me
Only
eat,
Italian food.
chicken parmesan or anything like that, even cold. I don't even warm it up.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, only Italian food though, nothing else.
No, nothing. Oh my God. No, 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 no. I mean, I love Chinese, but there is no way you cannot pay me enough to eat Chinese the day after. Seriously, I
Or
swear to God.
sushi.
Huh?
Or sushi.
Oh, even worse. No way. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to eat sushi anymore because I don't know. Yeah, you have to
Mhm.
cook your stuff.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, I know that goes back to the whole conversation, I keep talking about with parasites. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah. But
god.
anyway,
So
let's not
scary
talk
these
about that.
days.
Yeah, let's
I
talk
know,
about
we're
good
gonna
things.
digress and talk about all these vitamins and cleanses and everything else. Oh, you
Yeah.
know what?
No,
That's
we
gonna
don't.
be
We
a
don't want that.
well, you know what? That's gonna be a great show for New Year's. We should do a show on cleanse and New Year's resolutions and what we wanna put and cut out of our diet.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you. So we talked about ingredients and dishes. What's your favorite? What makes the cut every year that's always on your menus? Whether it's at your full service or fast casual, what's your go-to?
It depends. I mean, of course, it depends on what holiday. If it's Christmas, or Valentine's Day, it depends on which one you want to know.
Well, let's talk
That's a,
Christmas since it's
yeah,
the holidays.
Christmas. Yeah, I mean, you cannot go wrong with a good piece of fish or
Oh yeah,
uh,
everybody loves your sea bass.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's funny that you said it because earlier you told me about a recipe that I wanted to give, and that's the recipe that that's the one that I wanted to give away today. So,
Okay, well, Gennaro just leaked a secret.
uh
So
huh,
at the end of the show, we are actually going to post Gennaro's favorite recipe. So everybody listening, that everybody wants to know how Gennaro makes his famous sea bass, it's going to be posted after the show. So you'll actually have a recipe as well. So that's
perfect.
exciting. So you leaked the secret already, Gennaro.
It's okay. But anyway, so on the menu for specials, you always you can never go wrong with the good fish, piece of fish, with a good steak, rather could be a fillet or ribeye, it's maybe a
Yeah.
lobster with it. I mean, there is so much that you can do. So
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah,
going back to catering and take home packages, I mean, because we do so much catering this time of the
yeah,
year.
yeah.
What have you learned from years past? I mean, obviously, you've been doing this a long time. We always get
Hmm.
through the holiday rush. I mean, some restaurants are busier than others. What are some of the lessons you learned with? So if somebody's listening now and they're planning a party and you had
Yeah.
to give them some tips on what works and what's hot and what's not, what would you say in terms of some lessons you've learned in the past with catering?
Yeah. What's hot and what's not? I mean, it all depends. I mean, everybody they have a different, different ideas, different things. But the main thing with the catering, right? It's really, I'm talking about from the restaurant side. It's really important. When you do a catering, let's say, especially, if it's like, during your rush time,
Yeah.
it's always like, a a fine line, because I know there is some people, they prepare their food, all the sauce and everything, so much earlier, so they don't do it during the rush. Some people, they try to do it right there, because of course, they want the food to be nice and fresh and not overcooked. So it's the balance that you got to find. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you don't cook it too early. You don't make it too late, because that, of course, your guests, they're going to come in, or they're going to, oh, the food is not ready, so they're going to be all pissed off.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Huh. That sounds like when I do Christmas, huh? So, my tip that I'll bring up, and I've learned through the years, I'm one of those, every year, Christmas is my holiday. I love Christmas, and I do a huge party every year. It's themed, and I make Gennaro take all the furniture out of the room, and I decorate,
Hmm.
and I do this huge long menu. And through the years, I've learned how to streamline. So, I've always wanted to do two or three appetizers, two or three entrees, two or three side
Or
dishes.
maybe sometimes even more, Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've
And there
learned through
was a
the
lot of
years,
work.
what do you always say?
I mean,
Less is more.
exactly. Yeah.
So being smart, and even though I'm in the kitchen for 3 or 4 days preparing and prepping, and like you said, putting everything together,
Hmm.
I've learned that you actually get a better presentation, you get better quality when the menu is more streamlined
For
towards your
sure.
theme, or towards your guest, or towards your tradition, or your balance of classics or nostalgia, or whatever your seasonal
Yeah.
um, thought or feeling is. You get a better presentation because it's well thought through. You're not rushing to do a little bit here, a
Better
little bit there.
presentation, I think you do even a better job. You know what I mean? You definitely put all your, your heart in it. Because when you do so many different things, it's just so hard, to get it done. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So you brought up another good point. I mean, we were talking about catering and parties in your home. Now let's talk about shifting into the restaurant. And one of the
Mhm.
challenges we always had, and let's talk about Tuscan Prime last year. I mean, when we
Mhm.
built that restaurant, we did it very smart. We had a front line and a back line,
Right,
because
exactly.
obviously the biggest challenge for any restaurateur is, how do you handle the 10 tops, the 20 tops, the 30 tops? You have all these parties coming in, but then you have
Hmm.
your regular diners in the restaurant as well. So
Yeah.
the last thing you want to happen is the kitchen slows down, because here comes these huge parties, the tickets come in, and then they
Yeah.
all come out at the same time, and then your regular diners suffer. So one of the things that we did, we got smart. We ran two lines. We did catering into one kitchen, and we did, the main dining out of the front of the kitchen.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about, the challenges that you see from the front of the house and the back of the house. I mean, obviously, my show is all about hospitality and service and front of the house,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
front of the house always kind of gets the back seat always gets left behind. And the
Yeah.
shows are always about the back of the house and the chef and the creativity. So let's talk just a minute about back of the house and the stress of the chef and the line. And you can talk a little more about, how do you handle higher volume and
Right.
modification and long
Yeah.
ticket times, and what do you do in that situation?
I know. Sometimes you just need to go through it. But talking about Tuscan Prime, we were, I mean, not lucky, but there was the way that we structured that. We had a two different line, a two different kitchen. Actually, one was the big kitchen, plus we had another kitchen in the back that we did all the parties, and all the stuff back there. So that works out a lot. That makes it on the chef and the cooks lot easier. But there is some kitchen they don't have they're not that lucky, because they only have one line, and they're gonna have to do it they got to do the regular serving through in regular serving, plus the catering from the same from that same line, and it's hard. I
Yeah.
remember at Carpaccio, we did not have two different kitchens. So let me tell you, I mean, in the middle of a Friday night, or Saturday night, or whatever, New Year's Eve. You know what I mean? Of course, if you have 15, 20 top, but during the your regular serving rush, I mean, that's a nightmare. You just got to have your best cooks. You got to be organized as yeah, as much organized you can be, and and go through it, and try to make the best that you can. That's all. And then,
Yeah.
of course, then if any chef, any kitchen, they're lucky enough to have somebody like you up front, which it can make everything so easy. Of course, talk to guests and buy whatever. You know what I mean? If it gets a little bit in chaos, you gotta the kitchen's gotta do their part, and the front, you gotta do their part too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
That's how you do it. Team up.
Well, and the front of the house and back of the house definitely have to work together, and that's one of the things I was just going to talk about is knowing how to manage long ticket times gracefully.
Yeah,
They're going to happen and you
yeah,
can't react, and you need to know whoever that front of the house manager is or whoever's on the floor needs to know
exactly.
how to manage that and
Yeah,
get to the tables, and whether it's sending a glass of champagne over or working the
exactly. Yep,
floor and coaching your staff on that elevated etiquette for holiday crowds, because
yep,
obviously there has to be some kind of etiquette because you're going to be busy. There's going to be long waits at the door. There's going to be long waits at the table. And the
yep.
biggest thing you want to do is know how to handle, to be able to ramp up and ramp down,
That's
you know,
all you gotta do. Yep.
and handle the stress, because stress of being on is stress of being on, no matter whether you're front of the house or back of the house or
Yep.
owner. It really doesn't matter.
Absolutely. I mean, you're always going to find, that kind of person, no matter what, no matter what you do, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to walk out of there bitching about, everything, because maybe one thing, they wait few minutes and then, everything else was bad. But most of the time, if you know how to handle it, your managers, your servers, everybody, they know how to, manage it and handle it. You know what I mean? You can always, make a good dinner rush.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you brought up a good point, and everybody always says guests are not nice around the holidays. That whole guest psychology during the holidays definitely
Yeah,
changes.
I said one, you know what I mean, every once in a while, and
Yeah.
not because I mean a lot of people, for yeah, not
Yeah, but it
everybody.
happens. It happens. I mean, they're
It
out
happens for
shopping.
sure.
There's a lot of traffic. People have less patience. Holiday diners tend to have higher expectations because they're dressed up and they're with family and they're having parties and they have less patience. I mean,
Yeah,
the guest psychology during the holidays, I mean, that's, you could do a whole show on,
yeah,
diagnosing your guests, because the guest psychology is just a unique thought
yeah,
in its own. But then you add the holiday stress to it, whether it's a couple days before Christmas and they haven't finished their shopping or they're doing dinner. And, people tend to order differently when they're celebrating. They look
hmm
for more indulgence and they treat themselves. And then, like I said, people tend to be less patient. So you just need to know how to handle all of those
for
pieces.
sure, for sure. Talking about that, I just wanna, I want to say one thing that
Yeah.
happened to me at one of the very first Squisito that we opened back in what was it, '98, something like that, right after Cafe Mezzanotte. That was '98. So it was, we were right on the first Friday or the second Friday, whatever or the grand opening after that. Anyway, there was this little old man, right, came in. With his family, of course, he brings everybody in, blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is my family. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so we were very, very busy. So they waited, a little bit for their food. I mean, talk about 15, 20 minutes, whatever. And this guy, he was so pissed off at me. And unfortunately, I mean, I usually always, worked in the kitchens, but, I was up front. I don't know why. I don't even, but anyway, I was up front. And this guy was like, where is my food? Then they said that you guys are the worst. You're not gonna last here. You are so bad. And I was so patient. I said, I'm sorry, blah 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 blah, whatever, all this stuff. Believe it or not, long story short, he became my best guest ever.
Uh-huh. Oh,
You know
I
what I
had
mean?
Janari, you don't remember Duke in Florida? It was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same thing.
that's right. Yeah, 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 that's right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
same thing. I mean, we had our challenges there too, and I was on the floor, and
Oh my
every
God, he
drink,
was tough. He was
e
tough, that man. I mean,
oh
but he
my
knew
god,
his
I
stuff.
loved
I tell
him.
you what, he knew his stuff, though. I mean, I know he was in the restaurant or clubbing business.
Club.
What
He
business was
was
he in?
entertainment club, and you know what? Everything that he ordered drink-wise we were out of,
Oh
I
my
grabbed the
God.
manager and I said, "Go buy this man anything he wants at the
Yeah,
liquor store," and I had them bring whatever he wanted to the table, and he
yeah,
became my best friend,
yeah.
and he kept coming back and coming back, and
I remember, Michelle. He was, he loved the Caesar salad, but he wanted it his own way. So,
yeah,
remember we were doing like, I
you
don't, we
brought him
never.
into the kitchen.
Yeah, I brought him into the kitchen, and then after the third time, because I mean, at one point, because we made a a Caesar salad in the house. We know, especially over there, we did not buy the Caesar salad. And I remember he sent that back 3 times. And then I say, you know what, Mr. Duke, come in the kitchen, show me how to do it. Just tell me. And then even if to me it was suck, but for him it was the best because he made it. At this point, okay, I say from now on, when you come here, I will use the same and the same way and the same recipe that you
Oh
did.
my God. And
And
he brought
what a
every
pain
holiday
in the
dish.
neck if you can hear me, but you're the best. Just
Him and his big cat. What did he have? A cat on his neck? I don't know. He was, I'll tell you know what, though? It is so
but
true.
great man, dog. Great
What
man.
a
Yeah.
great, and it is true though. Your toughest guests become your closest friends, and
Yep.
they
Yep.
become
They
loyal
do.
customers.
I guess besides testing, right, that they're testing you also. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
do good by them, then that's it. No matter what, if you're good, if you're better, as long as sometimes that's what it is too. It's respect, and they want to be treated right, and they want to feel. They come and spend money. You know what I mean? They pay your rent, they pay your paycheck. So of course, some people they expect more than others, and that's fine. That too. Whatever
Yeah.
works.
So we just kind of brought up a really good topic that you don't think about during the holidays. Everybody thinks of the holidays of just about Christmas parties, but from a business standpoint, it's a great way to really wow the customer in terms of
Hmm.
the experience to
Yeah.
then build loyalty.
For sure.
So the biggest thing you want to do around the holidays, since it's the busiest time and you have the an audience, they're
Hmm.
there, they're in the door, you have lines out the door. It's the best time to build a loyal
For
following
sure.
for your following year's business.
And
So
especially because of course there is a lot of guests that they try to go in the restaurant that they always go, their usual restaurant, but unfortunately sometimes they're packed. So you know what I mean, you always basically what I'm saying, in the holidays you always get a new guests that that's your chance to win them over.
right, right. Some of the things that we do, just as an example, and whether you do, and there's a million different things you could do. We do gift card. A lot of restaurants do that, where they do the
Yes.
bounce
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's spend 50 and get a $5 gift card, or spend 100 and get a $20 gift card. Whatever it is a bounce back to win them back, or do holiday bonus bucks where they
Yeah.
have to use them after a certain date. But there's also ways to create social media buzz too. So you're doing so many cool drinks and specials and
Hmm.
flaming this and fire that it's a great way to put out these social media reels and posts
Exactly. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get people excited, because those are the time that you do all these really creative holiday specials, that it wins people back and gets them
Hmm.
excited about the next year
Yeah.
business. Especially in January. January is probably the slowest month in the restaurant
Oh,
business,
I know, yeah. So
unless
you
you're in
gotta
Florida.
whatever you gotta do. Exactly. Yeah. Everybody goes to Florida.
Everybody goes to Florida in January. We're the only stupid ones.
I know. But from this year, no, we're gonna go though. We're gonna start this year. The heck with it.
We're going. I thought we were going to New York.
Okay, we go to New York and then we go to Florida. We go get really, really cold and then we just gonna go and get warm. That's
And
all.
warm up.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about my biggest pet peeve on the holidays. And you want to take a guess what it is when it comes to menus?
Your biggest pet peeve.
My
No, go
biggest
ahead.
pet, my
My
biggest,
love, my love. You have a lot of them, so help me
oh,
out here.
thanks a lot. Um, my biggest pet peeve during the holidays are prefix menus.
Yes. Oh, yes, 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 yes,
I
yes, yes.
can't
I agree. I
stand
agree.
them.
Yeah.
I know, okay, obviously we all know why they do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from a kitchen perspective, for all the listeners out there, if you're like me, you go in and it's a holiday and you have all your friends and family and you want to sit down and have a nice dinner, and then they hand you a piece of paper with four options.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm the pickiest eater under the sun. I don't eat fish. I don't eat this. I don't eat pasta. And at least one of the dishes on all five of the menus is one of the items I don't eat. So what do you
Right.
do?
Yeah.
What do you
And
do?
plus, some people they really don't want, what I mean, like 3, 4 courses.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I know what you mean. I
You
mean,
know,
whatever we did, I mean, we just, we took our menu, remember, like, from 100% to maybe 60, you know what I mean? We just reduced a little bit, but still have the majority of the most seller, but we never did, never did a prefix menu. I never liked that. Yeah.
no, I don't either. I really think during the holidays, the first thing a guest asks, I know I
Uh-huh.
do, do you have a prefix menu? Especially around New Year's and Christmas and Thanksgiving. And the second they say yes, I'm like, thank you. We'll go somewhere
Exactly.
else.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's a waste of
Oh,
money.
one of our favorite restaurant here that
Yep.
we go to all the time. I mean, we don't go in holidays specifically for that. Yeah,
Yep. It's
man,
the
you were.
truth.
I remember you were. What was it? What was
Mother's
it?
Day.
Mother's Day. Yeah, we
Mother's
went there.
Day.
Wow,
Last year, I worked so hard
Yep,
at Mother's Day at
yep.
Tuscan Prime. I think I got there at 9 a.m. I was there till 9 p.m. I didn't sit
I
one
know.
time. We were so busy. And I was so
Yep.
excited to go have dinner at Chart House Prime. And we walked in
Yeah.
and I looked at the menu and I was like, oh,
I
dread.
know. I know.
I
I,
was
sti-
so
I still
disappointed.
remember that day. Yeah.
I was so disappointed. I didn't eat
Yeah.
any. I don't think I even ordered, did I?
No, I don't think so.
No. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we know why a lot of restaurants do prefix dinners. They're easy, they exist, they save the kitchen. It's so much
Mm-hmm.
when you're
Yeah.
doing 500, 900, 1,000 covers. I mean,
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
chef,
Yeah.
it's easy. It's like, you have a conveyor line. It's boom, 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 boom. Like you said
Mm-hmm.
before, they can preset the salads and it makes it easy and it sets expectation for timing and
Exactly.
substitution and
Yeah. Yeah.
fixing. And, but from the guest perspective, it totally ruins the experience. I mean, you go to a restaurant for what they're good at, and then they do this stupid prefix, and
Yeah,
but that's
I
how
don't
a
know.
lot of
Some people,
restaurants,
some people like that though. You know what I mean? It's just us that it doesn't. We don't like that, but some
yeah,
people like it, I guess.
I guess. So now
Yeah.
let's talk about, I mean, I have to bring up the biggest, I guess, curse word in a restaurant during the holidays:
Hmm.
allergies and restrictions. The
Yeah.
first time you bring that up to anybody in the restaurant business, when you have 1,000 covers, a busy kitchen, you have parties going on, and then you have a table that comes in and says, I can't eat this, I can't eat
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
needs to be on the side. How do you handle that? I mean, what do we do? Do we say no? Do you turn people away? Or, what do you do in terms of handling dietary restrictions and allergies and
Yeah.
what should we do? What's the etiquette?
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
All right. Obviously, you definitely don't want to say no. I mean, we're in the business of
Of
yes. We're in the
course.
business
Yeah.
of hospitality. We're in the business of service. I will tell you, I mean, on a prior show, I don't know if you remember when Krista and I brought it up, there was a restaurant and it was on Nantucket and they basically said, I'm sorry, but no,
Hmm.
we can't
Hmm.
accommodate it and we're too busy. And, obviously it pissed off the customer and she went to Google and
Sure.
whatever, she ripped them a new one. But they have to look at the balance of both sides. I mean,
Oh, for
and that's
sure.
where it goes back to the guest psychology. I mean, you need to understand that that kitchen is busy as hell, and if they can't handle your allergy to the quality
Right.
that it needs to
Exactly.
be, that restaurant doesn't want to take your life into their hands
For
and say that
sure, yeah. No, I guess I mean that's what I'm saying. It all depends on the severity of the allergy, and the best you can do is say, hey, look, like I don't know, a gluten free. Yes, I can make you this dish gluten free, but you know what I mean. Of course, we're an Italian restaurant. We still have flours
power.
around. You know what I mean, and all that kind of stuff. So I can make you a gluten free, but it's not a gluten free environment. So if you're really, really gonna get sick, please do not eat here. I'm sorry, but I don't know. What can you do?
Yeah. Well, you know what? That goes back to, what does Moderano say? Don't break my balls.
Don't break my balls. That's all. Yeah.
It is what it is. This is my concept. This is my menu. But here's the devil's advocate. You don't want to lose a guest because you want to make
No.
sure
Yeah.
especially if they're really good customers. I mean, you want to make them happy and you want to be strategic.
Of
But the
course, and
last,
we always do, and a lot of restaurants they always do. But you know what I mean. They cannot guarantee you 100% that like I said, with flour, with gluten free, or whatever. If you're allergic to peanuts or whatever, anything like that.
nuts
But
are a big one. There was a big issue this past year where
uh-huh.
someone didn't know that it was actually in the dish, and I mean it put the person in the hospital. I mean, really
Yeah.
close to killing them.
Yeah.
So it happens. I mean, because some people don't know pesto has nuts. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Pine nuts. Yeah.
it's of course, it's. it's the biggest thing you want to do is navigate these tricky modifications without derailing your kitchen and derailing
Yeah,
your
and of
chef.
course, your chef, he needs to know, his ingredients, 100%. You know what I mean? If there is this, if there is that, he should know everything. Which a lot of them do, because nowadays, this, yeah, allergy,
It's
whatchamacallit. I mean,
huge.
what we did, back, whatever, 90s, never heard all this kind of stuff. Now, we're getting all,
We're getting fancy
yeah, yeah,
because you know what? You know
and
why?
more, even with, I don't know, the
You
diet
know
and
what it
everything
is?
else.
It's called the internet. It's
Yeah,
called AI. Everybody is now a
yeah,
doctor and they're diagnosing themselves and they're googling things
exactly,
and it
yeah.
makes people more aware. I mean, just like your kids, what did I do when I was little? I mean, now I look at things that I do with Vivi and I'm like, God, I did this when I was little. It didn't kill me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
Yeah. But
things
there is some
change.
people that they're really, really allergic. It's really dangerous. So,
Worse.
you got to know
Yeah,
your best. I think the best way is say, yes, I can accommodate, but I cannot guarantee that, whatever, God forbid. So,
yeah,
if it's a very serious allergy, we're not going to take a chance.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, before we run out of time, we do have to talk a little bit about trends. I mean, obviously, it's November. I can't even believe Thanksgiving is this week. It's a
Mm-hmm.
day away. And then it's going to be Christmas. Then it's going to be New Year's, and we're going to be setting our New Year's resolutions and talking about what we think the restaurant industry is going to look like in 2026. And
Mm-hmm.
Janar, I know you watch a lot of like reels and a lot of information about what's trending, what's not trending, and what works and what doesn't work. So before we talk about Thanksgiving and our what we're thankful for, what do you
Mm-hmm.
think those future predictions look like? What do you think is in it for the restaurant business for us? What do you think we're going to go through next year?
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, restaurant business. It's really, it's some kind of business. I mean, it's not easy, and it could change a lot or can still the same. And I mean, of course, you got to keep keep up to date with everything, with the look of the restaurant, with with the food and the drinks. I mean, look how much now there is you can go to a bar. They have a bar of what do you call it, non-alcoholic. What do they
Oh
call
yeah,
it?
zero proof.
What is it?
Zero
Yeah,
proof.
zero. Yeah, zero proof. But what was the what do you call it?
Oh,
Mocktail,
well,
right?
they don't call
Mocktails.
them mocktails anymore. Mocktails don't exist.
Oh, excuse
They
me. They're
they
already changed the name
evolved,
on the mocktails. Oh my
they
God.
already
Okay.
evolved into zero proof.
I've just learned what mocktails was. Maybe a few. They changed the name already. So I don't know about new stuff for me. I mean, whatever. For me, the the old tradition, things they always work. You can tell they never go out. You know what I mean? Nowadays, all these new things, new trends. It's you gotta do it at in the right spots, in the right places. But
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, what I'm seeing lately, a lot of nicer, not a Michelin stars, of course, nice, restaurants. I'm seeing a fusion of, now, like you see, like like just like we did a little bit. You know what I mean? Combined, steakhouse. That's why we did our, Italian chop house.
right, right.
Yeah, steaks and Italian. Now you see that a lot of them they're combining. Between the steakhouse, Italian restaurant, and sushi. You just seen all these fusions coming together with all those new restaurants. I'm seeing that a lot. As a matter of fact, there were one place we were a couple of whatever about a week ago, right, Michelle? I mean,
Yeah,
one restaurant after another one, they all have the same menu, whatever, sushi, Italian, which it's it's nice because you have a variety, but can
it's a
you
little
do
confusing. It's nice, but it's a little confusing because when well, I guess you're an audience. You can handle any guest that comes in. If you want a
sure?
salad, you want sushi, you want steak, you want Italian, but it doesn't
Sure.
really set the mood for the environment. I mean, that
No,
goes
it
back to
doesn't. Yeah, yeah. And
what we're going
then,
to
I mean,
talk
can
about.
you make, because it's hard already. If you got to have an Italian restaurant, if you got to do it good, that's what you're good at, and that's what you do. The same thing with steakhouses. It's, let me tell you, I
Yeah,
mean, we did steaks, which we never did. And, it's not as easy, do you think that,
it's
okay, you,
challenging in the
you put
beginning
your
to learn
steak
it.
and, you know what I mean? What's that?
I said it's challenging when you start
It
something
is
new that you're
challenging,
not
and then
used
you put all these concepts together, and I mean, you have to be really, really, really good on what you're doing. You know what I mean? Is it got to be, yeah.
For sure.
So yeah,
I don't know. I mean, so what do you think? Full service or fast casual?
it doesn't matter. As whatever you do, you got to do it your best, and whatever you're good at, that's what you do.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
It's
And
going to
that's
be,
and what you love. I mean, look at me. I love a fast casual, but you love, you know what I mean? You
I
like
love
a
full
full
service.
service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I kind of like them both.
Yeah. Well,
But
you like full service if it's in a small, fast casual setting.
no, 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 not even that. I like full service, but
In
I like,
small.
not those huge restaurants,
Right.
because
That's
to
what I
do,
said. In the size.
once you have, three, 400 covers, you cannot, there is I mean, it's really, really hard to deliver the same quality as you have a nice little restaurant, 100, 120 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's when you have a three, four, 500, seats, you becoming in yeah, and yeah, no, it's yeah, much harder to to have the best quality as you can get.
Yeah. Well, I really think dining trends in 2026 is going to be very interesting. I think there's going to be more shift to AI. There's a lot of people, a lot of concepts out there
AI,
about
AI, AI.
AI.
Everything is a
It's
freaking
true.
AI.
But you know what? It's true. I mean, people are using it for ordering and menuing it. They're trying to streamline the process. I mean, the
Yeah,
restaurant business is so difficult and profits are not like they used to be. And anything that a restaurateur can do to make the job easier, it's a hard industry. And
yeah.
to be more effective and efficient and streamline your business and to be able to be more profitable is key. And I
Mm-hmm.
really think the trends for 2026 are going to go that way. They're going to start, I mean, every business, not just the restaurant business, but
Yeah.
the future predictions are going to be interesting to see. And what's great for us is we've been around. We know the classics will always be there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
classics are classics; they'll never die. Whether
Right.
it's
Right.
classic New Year's or classic Christmas in New York City. I mean, there's so many things that everybody's going to always love. But then there's the new generation that looks for the new. And, that's what's happening these days. So,
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to seeing what 2026 brings.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, in the beginning of the show, I said to you, we're here. It's Thanksgiving. Another year has come and gone. And what are you thankful for? What's your Thanksgiving message to all of our listeners?
Oh, Thanksgiving message to our listeners.
What do you think?
What am I
Yeah,
thankful
what are you
for?
thankful for?
Michelle, I mean, you know me. I'm a very spiritual guy. I bless, I thank God for, every morning, every day for all the blessing that He gives us. But I wanted to thank Him, especially, for us, our family and friends, to be healthy and whatever, that's what it is. I mean, be healthy. It's the most important thing. You can have 1,000 problems. You're gonna get sick. Really, really sick. You're only gonna have one, because that's the only thing. If you have a health, you got everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, I thank God for that.
yeah. Well, I had Steve on the show last week and we talked about, a Thanksgiving message for our listeners. And, with this being the first year that I'm doing the podcast, it's been so well received. I have so many new listeners and so many people DMing me and sending me messages and people listening from Chicago and New York. And
Hmm.
it's so motivating to see how people rally behind you, because
Yeah,
there's not,
yeah.
women supporting women is really nice, but it's really, I'm very thankful that so many people really see my vision and get excited
Hmm.
about all the things that are, excite me. And, as
True,
you get
true.
older, you look to put together your bucket list of things you want to do. And we kind of I'm starting to chip away at that. We wanted to do a reality show and we did that and we filmed it. And that should be,
Yeah,
hitting
yeah.
this Christmas, which we're really excited about. And I wanted to launch the podcast and we have that, that launched. And, we're getting ready to move to New York and New Jersey to be closer to
Hmm.
family. And
That's
we're
right.
making that happen. So it's so exciting to see the next, what's next for us and
Yeah.
what's next in the chapter of our book. We're writing our own book. But my message to everybody listening is, we're thankful for you, as our guests that walk through the door every day and share the
Right,
word with us.
right.
and choose to spend their holidays with us and sit at the tables. And, we're thankful for our staff and their dedication and hospitality, and why we're with our family or we're traveling, they're keeping down the fort and running our
Absolutely.
restaurants
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and making you, our guest, feel comfortable in our home. And
Yes.
last but not least, I'm thankful for my family. It's like you said, it's all about health. And without being able to wake up every day healthy and feeling good and working out and spending time with your kids, I mean, what's more in life than
That's right. Yep.
and being happy in your home, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. If you cannot do that, I mean, you can have all the gold, all the money in the world. It's yeah, you don't take that with you. So
Well, did you ever think we would get through a 35-minute podcast? It
why is it
goes so
35 minutes
fast.
already? Oh
It's done.
wow.
I mean, I told you it moves so fast that you don't
Yeah,
even cover
it
half
is.
the thing.
I was a little bit nervous, but then this is fun. I want to come back on this thing called the podcast, whatever. I like it.
Oh my God. You're not taking over my show.
Oh,
And no one and
definitely
wait,
not.
I'm waiting. The family, I already know our family's gonna go, oh, we knew Michelle could do this, but Gennaro's the real star.
Oh my God. Hey, what about my recipe? How are our guests that they're gonna get our recipe? The
So before we go, obviously DMs are open. You can email me at any time. You can go to restaurantdiva.com. You can go to
hmm
our Dine and Dish on Instagram or Restaurant Diva. And just like we did with our recipe from when we were at the Inn a Little Washington and we stayed, Amanda shared a recipe with us. We're going to do the
hmm
same thing with Gennaro. We'll have a picture of it. It'll be right on the Restaurant Diva website, as well as a post on Instagram, and they'll be able to click on it
Perfect.
and get the recipe. So
So, Michelle, I
everybody.
gotta make that dish. You take a nice picture, and then we're gonna put the recipe. And it's so simple. I'm gonna do something that is so simple that everybody will love and anybody can make. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's another show. And I just want to say that we today celebrate gratitude, family, and good food. And we're grateful for this journey and for everybody around that makes it meaningful for us. And here's cheers to warmth and love and full tables.
Amen. Michelle, when are you gonna get me again on this thing?
We're going to do the New Year's episode.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
All
This is
right.
another week of Dine and Dish. And I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Sounds good. Love you.
Love you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.